Hey everyone, Rage is here. After many requests, I'm finally bringing you guys an updated Zulrah guide. A couple months ago, Zulrah, her mechanics were changed, which made her have less magic defense and higher range defense. This kind of altered how the kills had to happen, and we've adjusted. It's actually about the same money per hour as it used to be. They did nerf her drops, but you're able to actually get more kills an hour on average now, thanks to the newer magic-based technique. It just turns out to be a slightly faster kill than we used to be able to get with range. So this guide again is going to try and tackle everything from requirements to gear setups and advantages of each, and then finally how to kill Zulrah. So a little bit of everything in here. Hopefully in the comments I'll have links to each specific part depending on what you actually need help with. First though, I'm going to tackle the requirements. So Zulrah is the highest solo boss in the game. You can only kill it solo, and you have to have beaten Regicide to actually even get here. That is the only quest requirement, though, is Regicide, because it is way in the southwestern corner of the Elvish lands. There are a few ways to get here, but the only one that's actually ever worth doing is just buying Zulrah teleports. They're super fucking cheap. Just get them. They save you tons of time. They're really awesome, and you'll probably get some after you start killing Zulrah too. So, while the quest requirements aren't hard, you do have probably really high stat requirements that still need to be met. I would 43 prayer, or at least 40, absolute necessity. You will die very quickly if you don't have prayer. 70 and 90 is even greater. At 90 plus prayer with the right setup, you won't even need prayer pots for your kills, which again saves a lot of money in the long run. Other big requirements are magic and range. You want them to both be as high as possible. 75 magic is an absolute bare minimum for the trident. Uh, and the higher range, the better, although range is not as important as it used to be. And you really don't need it that high because now that the Abba's accumulator does function as Zulrah, you can use Ruby bolts, which aren't really based off your range attack as much as they are just their effect going off. So the range isn't as important. I'd say 70 plus range. But for good accuracy and fast kills, I'd say at least 85 to 90 magic at a bare minimum. Uh, and the Trident of the Swamps, or at least the regular Trident if you don't have that. Um, so then attacking your defense don't matter at all. And the last suggestion is a high defense level. This isn't very important. The only time defense should ever matter at Zulrah, assuming you don't fuck up, is during the magic phase, where it can shoot random ranged attacks at you. And you want to tank as many of these as possible, obviously, because this is the only place where Zulrah can actually deal a lot of damage to you without like any other place in the kill. You're able to prevent all damage from Zulrah. This is the only place where it's actually impossible to prevent all damage. So it's very important to cover your ass in this uh, during that one phase, because that is pretty much where most of the deaths come from. Is either mage phase ranged blasts or Jad phase. Finally, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about right now, I will again go into all that in more detail later. So, yeah, without further ado, let's move on to the armor setups. My first recommended setup is my personal favorite. It is also the most expensive, but it doesn't need to be. It can also be the cheapest, but it is the Void setup. And the idea of the Void setup is a quick and easy switch between magic and ranged. Uh, because Void, at minimum, all you need to do to get from a magic to a ranged setup is 3 clicks, which would be weapon, helm, and Abba's accumulator. The more switches you want to bring, the better, obviously, as long as you can handle doing all the switches in a fairly efficient manner during Zulrah. It's kind of good to work up the switches until you can safely, effectively do all of them, you know? Like, see, I just kind of screwed that one up, but I was just showing you guys. But, so the more switches, the better, but it also requires more focus. But bare minimum, you only need like 3, which is really nice, and it also makes it kind of AFK. Advantage of the Void setup, the biggest one is lag outs still happen. Not that much, but they still do happen. And every time you lag out at Zulrah, even though you don't lose your shit, you do lose Barrow's gloves, and any Barrow stuff you do have breaks. So you lose money, and that kind of adds up after a while, and it's really stupid when you die to things that aren't under your control. And when you die at the Void setup, you don't actually lose anything except for this cape, which can be easily reobtained for free or for 23k from that one guy if you're feeling kind of antsy. Either way, though, it's a lot cheaper than losing Barrow's gloves and Aram's every death. The Void also hits harder with the range. You get that Void boost, which speeds up kills not that much actually, because of the fact that you're going to be mostly maging now. But it's nice to hit 50s with diamond bolts, or just under 50. Also remember that you're also going to be using Ruby, which isn't affected by the Void, so that won't matter as much. Some people prefer the blowpipe, and I think now that you don't range Zolar as much, the Armadillo crossbow is actually a lot better. Getting in 1 or 2 50s during that first mage phase with the Ruby Bolt spec is a lot more damage than you're going to get in with anything else. Because the mages, on most of the mages, they aren't up long enough to effectively deal a lot of damage with the blowpipe. So that's just the nature of it. So that is the Void setup. Obviously, the Arcane can be downgraded to either a Zeros book, if you're a Book of Darkness. If you're feeling really cheap, you only lose 10 magic, which isn't terrible considering it is 85 mil cheaper. You do lose a nice defense bonus, but it happens. The Malediction Ward and the Mage's Book and the Zami Book are also good alternatives. You do really need to make sure that this magic bonus is as high as possible for the Void boost to actually make it worth using Void. Otherwise, your accuracy will just be too low. So if you don't have the money, the Aram's method is a lot cheaper, assuming you don't lag out and die a lot. So this you see we have 125 magic bonus, and that's really accurate. And also with this one, you aren't going to have to worry about drinking anti-venoms, which will save a little bit of money over time. You will have to worry about repairing the helm, but it drops the stuff to repair the helm, so it's really not too bad. Some people don't even bring a range switch. I would still probably bring some form of a range switch and use Ruby Bolts. Armadillo is obviously the preferred thing because you'll be really accurate. Again, another pro thing people can do is bring ring switches. If you are new to it, you're always going to want a ring of recoil, but you can also use these two rings to slightly boost accuracy during specific phases. You do have to remember to put on the ring of recoil though when these snakelings spawn, or else you're going to take a lot of damage and not kill the snakelings. So this again is something if you're paying a lot of attention and you know what you're doing at Zulrah already. So for this setup, downgrades can be again any of the shield ones I mentioned earlier, the Malediction Ward, the books, and or the Mage's Book. Infinity, Third Age, and Mystic are all good substitutes for this. Obviously, the best ones are the most expensive, but that's just how it is. All of them will work, though. He won't be able to get kills with any of them. What they're going to do more, though, is just speed up kills, depending on how accurate you are. But it should never actually be the difference between getting a kill and not getting a kill. So those are the best setups, pretty much. Yeah. The only two things worth using ranging are crossbows and the blowpipe. So yeah. Next, I'm going to cover how to kill Zulrah if you're a newbie, and then we will show each of the 4 phases and move on from there. I'm going to now quickly go over inventory and show you one quick Zulrah kill, and then show you that picture and talk about all Zulrah kills after that. So for beginners, obviously you're going to want higher level food than monkfish, but when you've got it down, monkfish is really all you need to save some money. You might even want a few brews and restores if this is your first time, because you are going to screw up and take some damage, but that's just part of Zulrah is learning it. That's actually the biggest part, because once you learn it, then it's just about how efficient can you make it. Oh, look at that bear. So the essential things, however, are 2 rings of coil, 1 equipped, 1 here. Zoranda teleports to get there, 1 prayer potion for emergencies, 1 anti-venom plus, and a ranging potion is optional but useful. Uh, so yeah. Um, like I said, you can bring better food, care wands for stacking health, which is nice. But again, not necessary. It's just how much do you personally need to kill Zulrah. And you kind of got to tinker, and you'll probably die a few times learning, but once you learn, it's pretty okay. I'm bringing a really simplistic switch just to show you guys how easy switching is, or like how little of a switch you need to succeed. You can obviously make it better, and it'll help once you are able to switch really quickly. And I mean, the more switches you have, the less AFK Zulrah is. It's not really AFK, but it's gonna make it harder to relax. And sometimes you just like to relax when you're killing Zulrah, which is what I'm gonna show you is more of a relaxed kill, but it'll still probably be pretty fast. So the reason I'm at Clan Wars is because when you enter this portal and then teleport from that portal, it restores everything you have to full, except for your special attack, which doesn't matter too much. But anyways, it restores everything else, including curing venom, which is nice. And now you're right here and ready to kill Zulrah. The quick prayer, as I just made earlier, should be Pro Magic and Eagle Eye. The reason this is because most of the time you're going to have Prey Range and Mystic Might on, and the only time you ever really need a switch is when you're going to Pro Magic. And in addition to switching, you're going to have to be doing your armor switches too during this time, so the quick prayer really helps speed that up. So when you're ready, you just click OK. And now in this period, you can just sit here as long as you want until you click this. Zulrah won't spawn. The first Zulrah thing is always a range green one, and it will never attack you. It will lay poison across most of the map, and the only smart thing to do during this phase is run to this corner right here by clicking on the minimap right here, turn on Mystic Might, and then get ready for the screen to shift, and once it does, you can start attacking Zulrah. With the Trident, you'll get 5 hits in this time if you do it perfectly. So yeah, if you don't get 5 hits in, figure out what you're doing wrong. So here it can go one of 3 ways, and we got the range over here. It can, from that form, it can go into either melee, range, or magic. Range is probably the second best one it can go into. Magic is definitely the worst. It is most likely to go into melee though. So this is just one of the rotations where I'm going to upload that picture someone made of all the rotations. You're going to want to always dodge this venomous shit because there's no reason not to. It'll just hurt you if you don't. The melee form hits exactly in front of where it's clicking or looking, and there are 6 directions it can look. So just don't stand where it's going to attack. So here is the first range form. You do that switch. Drink a ranging potion. As you see these little blue things he's shooting, those are range attacks. Those are the things that are going to hurt you. His mage attack actually won't deal any damage. And the magic form, like I said, is the only one that will actually deal any damage to you. And over time, you'll learn these switches or where he's going to go. That picture I'm going to upload again will also help you learn them easier. Once you know them and know where to run, that's what really makes the kill the most efficiently, or most efficient, is just knowing where to run. Like I just misclicked there. Misclicks happen. As long as you don't die from them, they don't really matter. If you have the Elite Diary done, you get this really awesome reward where you can actually die in Zulrah, and it doesn't make you die. You just respawn with full health in the middle of the kill, which is really nice, and you get it once per day, which is usually you only make one critical fuck up once per day. So, since I've had that, I haven't really ever actually died at Zulrah. I've got those respawn deaths, but those don't actually break your armor or stop the kill. So the most important phase to know what the fuck you're doing is this one that's coming up right now, and this is called Jad phase. And you just alternate between magic and melee, or magic and range prayer every single hit, and you won't take any damage from it. But it will fuck you up really hard if you don't do this alternating thing. But if you do, you take no damage. If you notice, I switch to the other prayer the second I see him do something. And that's probably the best time to switch. You don't have that much of a window. I think it's like 2 ticks. Also, toward the end, some people like to eat after they're done, but there's no reason to eat because you're going to get healed to full by the Clan Wars portal. So you just take your loot, teleport to Clan Wars. Doesn't show you your kill speed unless you're off that. So that was a 3-minute kill. That isn't really a good kill by any means. But again, you won't be like narrating to people when you're killing it and be able to focus more. So just to show you how easy it is to bank and everything, all you do is bank your loot, fill up the rest of your inventory, run to here, and then tally back. And I will show you one more kill actually, just because hopefully we get a different type of rotation this time. Another important thing that they released is the advent of this check of how many Ring of Recoil hits will happen before it breaks, and the option to actually just break it if it's going to break early. It used to be a huge problem where you wouldn't know when it was going to break, and it wouldn't really make a huge notification to tell you. Now it does, but that used to be a problem that you had to worry about, is knowing when your Ring of Recoil would break. Alright, so let's hopefully get something other than range. Alright, this is the most common thing it's going to do, and from here it can actually go one of 2 ways still. Oh. But this is definitely the easiest rotation by far. If you haven't noticed, Zulrah's already at half health. So, very, very easy kills from here. One thing to notice is once a thing starts shooting out these things, it's not going to attack you for a while. So, during this time, it's usually smart to go to Pro Magic because that protects you the most from the minions. They can still hit you. But Pro Magic seems to give you added defense against them, but sometimes they hit through prayer or something. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But if you have Pro Magic up, you usually don't take any damage from them. And the Armadillo crossbow, as you see, is very accurate. The blowpipe, again, does a lot of damage too. Nothing against it, really. It's just, I prefer the Armadillo crossbow. The other big reason is because it allows you to keep a shield equipped. And you are only going to be using your crossbow during mage phase, which is when your defense actually matters. So it makes sense to use something that you can keep that shield equipped. You also want to avoid eating during the middle of phases unless you absolutely need to, because you can always get in 2 eats in between phases. But if your HP drops to around 50, it's probably a good idea just to eat. Alright, and this was a slightly faster kill, but as you see, Zulrah still drops really good stuff. Just a quick price check of this will reveal that we made 161k in, we unfilter it, 2 minutes 9 seconds, and taking about 30 seconds to bank. That's about 20 to 30 kills an hour. We used only about 60 trident casts in those 2 kills, which is about 24k only. So Zulrah is still definitely the best money making method in the game, especially if you get one of its 4 unique rare drops. Also has the coolest looking pet that can change to multiple colors. You just like that there. Alright, last thing I'm going to do is show you guys the picture of all 4 things. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments or anything. I'd be willing to answer anything. If you guys have a request for the next guide, I'd be more than willing to do whatever you guys really want to see. Besides that, though, save the picture I'm about to show you because it's really helpful to beginners, and have a great day. This is a picture made by someone on Reddit, I believe, and so all credit goes to this guy for his really wonderful thing. You make this a desktop background, and what it does is it has all 4 different Zulrah rotations on it. This is, the first 2 are when Zulrah goes to melee in its second form. I think I mentioned this already, but you can tell which rotation it's going to be by its second form because all the first forms are the same. So two of them are melee, and these two are probably the easiest. So if you ever see it go melee right away, that's awesome. Um, Next up is the range, which is a 10 long, which is slightly longer rotation, little bit, little bit trickier, and then finally the magic one. This one is definitely the hardest to master, and it's because you have to switch to mage right away off no switch, and it's kind of tedious, but once you learn it, it's still not that bad. On average, I average about 2 minutes on these, 2 minute 30 seconds on this, and closer to 3 minutes when it goes magic right away, just because this phase these Zulrah switches are just a lot faster for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it's just how it is. Um, so yeah, this is a wonderful thing to just if you since the RuneScape client doesn't take out that much, you just have this on your left, and you'll know exactly where to run, where to stand, marked by pictures on each, and it will save you a lot of health and help you learn it a lot faster. So this is a wonderful tool that you guys can use. Hope you guys have good luck at Zulrah and have a good one.